Okay, hello. This is Spencer.
And I am Gandalf, also known as Max.
Actually, Spencer's not here, it's Galileo. So we're trying a new kind of video format for this because we don't have any other ideas.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk about what we learned from the first Pirates of the Caribbean, which we watched recently.
Best film, in my opinion. I didn't say that. You just heard it randomly.
Okay, so what did you think of the story?
I thought the story was really good. In overall, in an arc, it kept you. It was very engaging and a very interesting story that had been used somewhat in fairy tales, but never really captured this accurately on film before.
I thought it was really good how it was an adventure film, which is kind of a dying genre as we go on. And I like a lot of the creativity for the designs and the skeleton monkey. Which was great.
That was 2004 CGI, better than some of today's.
Yeah, and then it also threw in some great moments, like the part where he drinks the wine and it pans down and goes through his skeleton.
Yeah, that was
pretty
nice.
great. And then
the whole transforming, like when they're excuse me, half in the shadow and half in the moonlight, that was really good too.
Mm-hmm. And then I also liked how it kept suspense up, and it used the jokes as levity while it still held suspense and tension throughout the whole movie almost.
Yeah. No, there were no jokes that were needle jokes, which would pop the tension.
Yeah, exactly. Which is one thing that I feel that some Marvel movies are becoming, like Doctor Strange, where they throw in jokes in there to kind of break the tension, but it ends up just shattering the tension. Like in Doctor Strange, I think of one of the moments where it's the first time he really becomes Doctor Strange, and the very thing after that, there's a joke where the weird cape thing rubs his face, and it's weird, and it's kind of funny, but it breaks the tension, and it doesn't make any sense for the story.
Right.
Still a pretty good movie, though. But.
Yeah, it was. But back on topic on Pirates of the Caribbean, it keeps you engaged, like I've said before, but it never really repeated itself. It wasn't boring.
That is actually one thing that maybe could have been handled slightly better. They go to the island where, I forget what it's called, the Island de Malo or something like that.
Yeah,
and then they leave, and then they come back, which for me that was perfectly fine, but it seemed to throw off at least some audiences that I know.
Right. Well, they left because they didn't have the right blood.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it does drag out the runtime. But it actually does lead into what is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where they're on the ships and they're shooting at each other from the ships. It's the ship battle, which is really good.
That was nice.
But
hit that dude in his eyeball, though.
Yeah. So weird. So good.
Oh, man.
And they also have, on the subject of jokes, they also have several reoccurring jokes. They never get too old. Like the newest one, they have one particularly bad reoccurring joke that I don't want to spoil it, but it was not good. He's pointing to his watch for some reason.
I was referencing the joke.
Oh.
Come on, Spencer. You're better than this.
I'm sorry. For those who have seen this movie, he's pointed to his watch to indicate time.
That I study that. Anyway. I really don't. I plan on going into engineering, but that's off topic.
So, again, this one did better what the newest Dead Men Tell No Tales didn't do as well, which is reoccurring jokes. And also, another thing that I found kind of weird in this is when they first go to the Island de Malo, which is probably not what it's called, but that's what I remember, the parrot says, "Dead men tell no tales. Dead men tell no tales." It's really weird.
That's the most beautiful representation I've ever heard.
Foreshadow. And also did that, I think, in the third one, too.
Okay.
At World's End.
What if... Yeah, okay. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. It was so well played by Johnny Depp. It was amazing.
I know. And that segues very well into our next point. Characters.
Yes.
So, one thing that I found kind of interesting in this movie is how there's essentially three main characters that kind of juggles all at once.
Especially in the beginning, like...
Yeah, especially in the beginning. And then they intertwine, like they all meet, and then they all separate, and then they all meet again. Well, I don't think they all meet again, but that's what I mean.
The end.
And then this is something that kind of the Pirate sequels again failed to do, which is juggle all the characters and still keep a focused narrative.
Right, because they were all kind of... they didn't know it at the time, but they were all going to the same goal. And they kept the audience engaged with the three separate stories, but then they were all kind of the same story, just different characters. It was really good. And
the motivations, other than Captain Jack Sparrow, were all, for the most part, very clear. Like, it was all very...
Well, the pirates wanted to get free of the curse. Black and white motive, it's fine.
Exactly. And then Will Turner wanted to save Elizabeth.
Elizabeth wanted to not die.
Yeah. And then Captain Jack Sparrow was the only one that didn't have a focused motivation, which made him a more interesting character.
Yes. And now in the end it was obviously revealed what his motivation was, but...
Yeah. And also they used Captain Jack Sparrow sparingly enough where he never really got annoying, which is what a lot of people...
They used the Sparrow sparingly?
Yes. Really, which is something that a lot of people have complained about the sequels, where they use him too much and then he becomes annoying. Because in this one, he works better as just kind of a force of nature, because you always kind of know that he's gonna win.
Right. But it's not like, oh, he's obviously going to win when you know he is because there's more movies, but that's not the first thing you're thinking about.
Well, I think I sort of disagree. Where it's obvious that he's gonna win. It's just it's not obvious whose side he's on.
Right. And another thing that keeps it's obvious that he's going to win, but that's not the first thing you're thinking of, is like you just said, that he's on either side, what side he's on. But also, crap, I forgot what I was going to say. I really had this really good point.
How could you, Max?
I'm so sorry.
You just... I bet 100 people that are going to listen to this probably going to be like 30, just clicked off because you just lost your train of thought. How could you? I'm going to fidget spinner you in the nose.
Oh, I remember now. Yes. Okay. So, along with him not being on, you not knowing what side he's on, you also felt like you were worried for Jack Sparrow. The stakes were high. There were
high stakes.
Yes. But the fact that there were high stakes kept you intrigued. It wasn't like, oh, he's gonna win. It kept it from being like a boring, generic end where one side always wins.
Yeah. So that's another thing that kept you more interested in the narrative. It's just the characters were very interesting. Except, I guess one complaint that I might have about that is, I guess more or less halfway through, Will Turner kind of seems to change his character from being completely devoted to Elizabeth to being more self-centered. It's kind of briefly, but that's something that, at least in my latest watch of it, kind of threw me off guard a little bit.
Right. Another thing about Will Turner is there weren't very many twists that kind of surprised us in this movie, but one that at least caught me off guard. I kind of saw it coming, but in the very end, where if you think about the beginning of the movie, he's completely anti-pirate, never going to be one. In the end, he ends up saving Jack Sparrow. And so that was the only kind of twist that sort of had me. If I think about it, I didn't know it was coming, but they did a good job masking that. Yeah,
it was a nice completion to his character arc.
It did.
Which I guess...
That rule never works.
I don't know if you just heard that, but Cody, my brother, just yelled, "That rule never works."